Welcome to the very first episode of the Between Two Divs podcast with your boy Cam. Today's episode, I'm real excited. This dude, man, he's been a part of my journey ever since I started learning how to code pretty much. And he's someone that I know y'all going to be getting a lot of gems from. A lot of y'all know him as CodingPhase, but I know him as Joe. So without further ado, Joe, what's up?
What up, Cam? Man, it's good to be here, man. Good seeing that, you pushing forward. Now you got your own platform, got your own podcast. I'm really enjoying this.
Joe, tell people more about your story, because a lot of people, they weren't here when you were talking about the ghetto curtain and stuff. So tell people more about that.
Well, I come from New York City, man. I was raised in basically Bushwick in Brooklyn and Richwood, Queens. So it's like the borderline of Brooklyn and Queens. And basically, I was born in Dominican Republic, moved to New York City, been living there my whole life. And, I decided at one point, after working a whole bunch of BS jobs, every type of BS jobs that you could think of, right? The hood packages, right? You go work at a supermarket, you go work at a mall, you go work at your local retail store, right? Little things like that, deliveries, all type of things, man. So, once I said, you know what, man, I need to get my shit together, because there's more to life than this. I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to be another hood legend of hey, man, Joe got his little 1992 Honda Civic. He put some rims on it, so I didn't want to be another statistic to it. So I'll say, you know what, man, I need to learn how to code, man. And I had the interest of learning how to make websites since the age of 14, where I first built my first website. It was a Dragon Ball Z website, little kid shit. But at the same time, it taught me a lot in the sense of hey, if you create content and people like it, people are going to go to it. But fast forward to, 10 years later, I left everything alone for 10 years. And then I just, once I did every type of BS job out there, I said, you know what, man, I got to learn how to code, man. There's a lot of opportunities. I was seeing guys like Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook. I saw the guys from MySpace doing their thing. I saw guys from Twitter doing their thing. I'm like, man, if I could just get in there, I just want to go in and be just a regular developer and just get in the industry and see if I could have better opportunities for myself. And then once I did that, I just started learning at home, started going hard. I did it for a whole year. And in reality, I could have started working, within 2 months, 3 months. But I felt trapped to the thing of man, are you really that good, right? Imposter syndrome. You're are you really that good? Are you really that great with JavaScript? So what I did was I just dedicated myself a whole year to understand JavaScript and to basically learn every framework that was out there at the time, YUI, Backbone, Ember, Angular 1, things like that. And then after that, then from there, I just started working. My first job, it's not this glamorous story, right? How people be having, crazy stories where they'd be like, well, why? My first job was a XYZ company. I was making 60 grand, 70 grand. My first job was a local company. There was a online retailer, right? There was wholesalers. They used to sell cameras on eBay, Amazon, and they had their own website. So then I went in for that job interview. They said $13 an hour. And I said, I know I could get more, but I was just so hungry to get a job. I'm I'm not going to wait another week for me to hear from another company and tell me, hey, we're going to hire you. I just wanted to get paid for doing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I just took it and I ran with it,
Yeah, that's cool because I know you talk about all the time on your channel how take whatever you can to get in the door. And once you get in that door, wait 6 months and then go and get that bag, because I think a lot of people out there, even, I go to Lambda school and a lot of people, they want that $80,000, $90,000 job right off the bat. And sometimes it's just not out there. Sometimes you got to put in those hours, put in that extra work to get that done. So I like that you took that chance on yourself. If you did it again, would you still do that same thing?
To be honest, I probably still would do the same thing because not only did I learn a lot as far as like e-commerce, but from me learning the things that was happening in that small company, right? I was able to apply that to myself later on when I started doing my own business. And at the same time, it also looked good when I went to like really big companies that do e-commerce because now it showed like, hey, maybe it wasn't a huge company, but he has done e-commerce, right? He understands the process of, the pages that he got to work on, the things that he got to do, the different tasks that they're going to throw at me. So at the end of the day, experience is experience. Nobody's looking at how much you got paid, right? Sometimes some companies, they might ask you, hey, what was your last salary, right? And that's up to you if you want to give it to them. You don't need to give that information to nobody, right? What's important is that I had the experience. So once I got into the game, right, and fast forward probably like, another year after that, I got into another e-commerce company. And then from there, they hired me on the spot because I already had experience from e-commerce. So even though I got paid a bullshit $13 an hour, at the end of the day, it opened doors in the future that, I didn't even think of that, hey, now I have this experience and people are they're going to hire me because I have that, right? I do want to point out that even though I started at $13 an hour in that company, I was out of there in 2 months, right? Like it was just like me being thirsty. I wanted to just start working, I didn't want to waste no more time. So my next job, then from there I got into digital agency and basically I was making like 50 grand. But it was definitely a higher increase from $13. But I just wanted to point that out to people like, hey, I did take that job, but I was out of there in 2 months.
Yeah, that's a good clarification because I think some people, they get stuck and they want to get that first job and then they're there for a year or so. But if you're not getting paid a lot of money, like I wouldn't stay there a long period of time. And I think the people that try to hire you, I think they know that you're not going to be there a long time because no one like that has like any type of sense is going to stay at a job getting paid, maybe not even as much as someone that works at fast food. Like, It don't make no sense. So yeah. I like that you're mentioning that.
Yeah, definitely. I had to make moves, because at the same time, I'm like, man, I know I could get more. And I told him, I gave him an option at the end. I was like, hey, man, like, this is not what developers make. And what I was doing for them was a lot. I was like working with their website. I was fixing up their listings on eBay. I was doing a lot of stuff that most people pay a lot of money for it, but it's a small business. So the model for the small businesses is to try to make as much profit as possible. So if they could continue paying me $13 an hour, they're going to continue paying me that much, right? But for me, I'm the employee. It's up to me if I want to take that. If I say, hey, man, I know what I'm worth, I could get out of here, right? Like 2 months in, I already proved what I can give to you guys, and I'm worth way more than this. Hey, if you want to take it, you take it. If you don't, hey, I already got something lined up. I'm going to work next Monday somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Word. Why don't you see more minorities in tech? Like, what's your reasoning behind that?
I think we're not exposed to it. Right. So let's say you are Black and Latino, right? And I want to point this out too, which is very important because when people come in and they say, oh, minorities, right? Automatically they bunch in, Asians, Middle Eastern, Hispanics, African Americans, right? They bunch everybody together. And in the tech industry is different because maybe Asians and Indians and, Pakistanis and Middle Eastern guys, they're not the minorities. The real minorities in this game is really the Hispanics and African Americans because we're just not exposed to it, right? It's completely different, right? When a guy comes from India or comes from China, those guys in their culture, they tell them, hey, man, and from the parents to in school to everything, that like, hey, man, the things that you want to focus on is math and science, right? You want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, you want to be in that world, right? For African Americans and Latinos, we basically, our options that we see from people that are successful is the ball players, the rappers, the guys that are in movies, right? So we focus more on the entertainment side and try to get into those fields. And then also too, like I said, because we don't have the exposure of people who are successful in the tech industry or in math and science, we don't see that as an option. We're like, why am I going to go to school for? Why am I going to train myself for this thing? And to what? To be pushing a RAV4? How Kanye says, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be doing that. You rather get something that, you know, you could push that Bentley, push that Ferrari, that Lamborghini, right? But what happens is that those fields, right, entertainment, sports and things like that, not everybody's going to get in there. That's like a lottery. So if we had more exposure to people who are, let's say, doctors, engineers, developers, etc., and you could see the wealth and the good things that comes from education, right? And we have like role models and people that we can look up to and say, hey, man, you know, this guy's living good, right? Like the only people, like, let's say, for example, the only people that I knew that had the nice whips, that had, you know, money in their pocket, that they could buy whatever clothes they want, they could go to wherever restaurant they wanted to, is people that's hustling, that's selling drugs, or like I said, ball players, right? I didn't see nobody in my hood where I could say, damn, man, there's a role model. There's somebody that I'm like, oh, you know, Mr. Johnson is a developer. Like, damn, I want to be just like him. Look at him. He's pushing the Maserati and he's going to work every day. Like, we don't see that, right? We don't see that in our neighborhoods. We don't see that in our culture. So I feel like because we don't get that exposure and see the success that you can get out of getting into this field, then basically we don't get into it. And I also put blame too on the people that do make it, that never come back and show the opportunities that they've gotten out of it. You know, like I feel like a lot of people might watch my YouTube channel and be like, damn, Joe is always like, either he's showing some money or he's talking about money or he's doing this and that. Like, there's a reason why I'm doing that. It's because I want people to know, hey, man, rappers out here that are famous and we're making the same amount as them. We are as successful as them. We could get whatever we want. And this is just from training yourself, from learning a skill, educating yourself. So that's why I do it, right? Exposure.
Yeah, like, and I feel like we're just now getting to a point where I'm starting to see a little bit more of that, but I agree with you. Like when I started, like learn how to code, like I didn't really see none of that. And even like when I saw your channel, like I was like, man, this dude making money. Like I didn't think that was possible. Like I thought like you had to be like a lawyer or a doctor, like you said, like these high like income jobs, or like be an athlete. And I tried to play ball, you know, while I was in, middle school and high school. It didn't work out. Like I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna play in the league. So what's the point of me trying to, bust my butt for nothing? So like I feel like this is definitely an avenue I think everybody could do. And my goal with this platform is definitely to kind of reach those people, reach the Black folks, reach the people of color, reach the underrepresented communities out there. Because I think that once we get our name out there, I feel like we'll be able to get those jobs that maybe are, more directed to people that aren't, our skin color.
Yeah. I think the sky's the limit now once people have the exposure, right? And people are able to see what's out there and see the possibilities. There's definitely going to be more developers getting into this field from, African Americans and Latinos that, that they can get into it and they could see, hey, man, it's the same thing for like my channel. One of the reasons why I do it is because it just gives people motivation of like, if he did it, I could do it, right? There's a lot of people that could say, hey man, I'm way more talented developer than Joe or whatever it is. And to be honest, I don't care, because what I'm doing here is for motivation, right? I'm here to help people out. You're supposed to be a better developer than me. You're supposed to be getting to higher places than me, because I'm doing this for you, because I'm here to help you get that motivation. And you could probably, reach higher places than I ever reached or got to. That's the point, right? It's for motivation. It's for you to see what's possible. Then from there, the sky's the limit for you,
And you kind of switch gears a little bit and kind of go to your point you made about your channel and stuff. Like, how did CodingPhase come to be, like the actual platform that you have?
Well, I mean, I used to have a YouTube channel, had multiple YouTube channels over the years. I mean, I've been doing this since like 2007, 2006. So I used to do music back then. I used to put my beats online. I used to sell beats. At the same time, once I started learning how to code, like I dropped everything and I just became like a hermit to just learning how to code and everything that has to do with coding, programming languages. I just started going hard. And I wanted to get into YouTube back in 2012, but I felt like if you haven't worked as a developer and you don't have any experience as a developer, back then, this is how I felt. I was like, well, what are you going to be talking about? You're going to be talking about, hey, this is what I'm learning, right? So back then, that was my mindset. I was like, man, I'm not going to show up on YouTube. People could just call me out easily and be like, this guy barely knows how to do CSS. You get what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm not going to get on YouTube. But then fast forward to 2016, one of my friends asked me, like, what was it that I was doing? Because he was seeing, like, I like to flex once in a while on on Instagram and Facebook. And they're like, yo, what is it that you do, Joe? I see you doing your thing. And I'm like, man, I'm a developer. I've been doing this for a while now. Then I realized, I was like, man, I'm looked online. I'm like, there's no black dudes in here. There's no Hispanic dudes on YouTube at all talking about becoming a developer. So then I did one video where I was talking about why you should become a web developer in 2017, which is super awkward. Like, you could go back into the history of my channel and go see that first video. I think it was like November of 2016.
Yeah.
Like, I created the video. It's like super awkward. I'm like in my blue room, where I was renting a room in a house with my roommate. And I was like, man, super awkward. But I wanted to just like tell people like, hey, the things that you could get out of this field, right? And maybe, I'll be the first one Hispanic guy in here with some sauce, right? That's comfy, that, wearing the fitted, being himself. I'm a New Yorker. You get what I'm saying? Like, you already could feel the energy as soon as you see me, you know what I mean? So nobody was here doing that. So nobody, when I started, before me, there was nobody with personalities. Before me, there was nobody that were talking about code, were giving opinions about different things of the industry, sharing stories of the industry and being themselves. I could probably say I was the first one that was just like literally being themselves, because everybody that was before me is like super vanilla in the sense of like, they don't want to show their personalities. They don't want to give their own personal opinions. Everything was like by the book, because, this is a professional field. So most people felt like they needed to just act like as if they're at the job. Right. And then once I came in, that's when people, everybody else started showing like, okay, this guy, he's able to be comfortable in front of the camera. That's when everybody started doing what was going on now on YouTube, where, people are able to be themselves and be comfortable. But yeah, I just decided to do YouTube, and I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. Why not?
Yeah, like I feel like that's why I gravitated towards you, because I felt like you were different. Like, because a lot of times, like before that, I saw people on, YouTube talking about it, and no offense to them, but like I couldn't relate. Like, because my story wasn't relative to what their story is. So when I saw someone that maybe came from similar beginnings to what I came from, I was like, okay, even though it was early, and I could tell I've seen so much growth from you since you started. Like, if I share the videos that you did from the beginning to what the stuff you be having now, like it people wouldn't even believe it. Like, they'd be like, oh man, this is a totally different dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, also too, it's just, you're more confident. The more that you do it, the more comfortable you are. Like back then I was like, not that I was scared of the camera, but it was more of like the thing of like, man, what are people going to think of me? They're going to be like, oh, this guy don't know how to code. This guy is really a developer, this and that. So I was like a little bit shy in the sense of like, man, I want to just be myself, but at the same time, it's like, do I have to go in and throw the work voice? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, if I have to do that, then YouTube is going to be boring for me, right? Because I already do that at work.
Have you seen that movie, Sorry to Bother You?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you got to watch it. Like, this guy, like, this black guy, he's like a real famous actor. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But, like, he has, like, a voice, like, he's like a salesman or whatever. and he had like he had like a work voice, but his work voice like a white voice. And I think Danny Glover. I would say Donald Glover, but Danny Glover, he's in it. And you know who Danny Glover is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like telling him like how it should sound and stuff. He said not Will Smith black, but like I forgot what he said after that. But it was like,
called him black.
Yeah.
I'm seeing right now some images on Google. I haven't seen it yet, but I remember when I saw the trailer, I was like, man, I need to see that movie. I'll probably check it out maybe tonight. As far as the, about YouTube and things like that, just being able to be yourself and things like that, right? So then from there, just, once you're on YouTube, you're on YouTube. Everybody is going to find a way to either they're going to love you or they're going to hate you. The people that can relate to you, they're going to love you. The people that cannot relate to you, they're going to hate you. They're going to be like, who is this guy? This guy, does he even code? And this and that. It's like, yeah, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, and also, too, people got to realize, too, YouTube is a place to have fun, right? People think, like, when they see me on YouTube, they think, like, hey, Joe is going into the office dabbing and throwing gang signs on on a meeting. Like, nah, man, this is for YouTube. This is just, like, entertainment, right? You have to make some entertainment for it to work on YouTube. So, at the end of the day, it's, like, also, too, like, it's, like, my personality, but times 10. Okay, so always remember that.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I finally actually met you in person. Like this past year, 4th of July, or whatever. I got to see you like how you were, and like it was crazy because like when I meet people, I'm like I don't know, like maybe they're different from how they are on YouTube, but you're the exact same guy on YouTube that you are in person, and your family was real nice. Everybody was real like hospitable. I feel like I was back at home, so I really liked that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you came through, man. I was like super excited when you came through. I was like, damn, my boy Cam coming all the way from Oklahoma, all the way to Connecticut. And you stay in the crib for like how many days? Like 2-3 days. So you was chilling, So it was cool having you around. And then we came to the office. We chilled here. We did an interview for the channel. We really have fun. It was nice having you around.
Yeah, likewise. So like my thing you always preach all the time is how it's good to start like having an entrepreneurial mindset. So like what caused you to switch gears from working as a developer to working as your own boss, like being a businessman, a CEO with CodingPhase.com?
Well, I mean, what I said from the beginning, before I even learned how to code, right? Like my whole thing was I want to get a skill that I could work from anywhere. Okay, I could be remotely. So my whole thing was like, if I'm going to learn how to code, I need to learn the things that is going to make me money for myself, right? So I realized that early on where it's like, okay, you're always going to be a worker. If you just focus on working, you're always going to be a worker. And always remember, if you're getting paid, let's say, for example, $100,000 to become a developer, how much is the company that is hiring you, how much are they making? And how much is the owner of the company making? Okay. Now, always remember the company and the owner, right? They're going to get paid way, way more than you. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, you're the one doing most of the work. Yes, you're getting paid pretty good, but imagine if you could get what the owner gets. Okay. So for me, I was like, you know what? As soon as I came into the game, I started doing things like niche websites, right? I already had sort of experience of like how to sell things online through eBay, Amazon. That was how I was able to, learn how to code too. That's another part of my story where, I used to go to like Goodwill and go to like the rich in neighborhoods and go to Goodwill and buy like Evisu jeans or real, True Religion jeans for like $25 and then go wash them, put them on eBay and sell them for $200, like literally. So it's like, I already knew how to hustle as far as that. So then I said, once I started learning how to code, I'm like, how can I continue making income for myself, even though I'm working for a company? So doing freelancing, whatever gig, somebody comes to me, even to this day, you come to me with $100. You say, Joe, I got $100 for you. I want you to do a landing page. A landing page is going to take me about 2 hours. That's $50 an hour that I'm making. I'll do it for you. Send me an email. You know what I mean? Like, I'm that dude. I'm a hustler, right? I'm always grinding. So fast forward to me having YouTube, I was telling people to go to Udemy, go to other instructors and things like that. But people wanted me to teach them. So I said, you know what, man, let's do one-on-one sessions, right? And I said, okay, cool, let's do this. So I was teaching people one-on-one, but then I realized, I'm like, you can't really do a one-on-one session with somebody, especially when they don't know anything, because it doesn't make sense. Because they have to learn HTML, CSS. They got to learn how to use a text editor. They got to learn how to work with JavaScript. They got to learn object-oriented programming. Like, there's so much stuff that they have to learn. And when you do a one-on-one session, it's like, it's so annoying to be doing it and teaching it to people right in front of them, because it's like, people are coming from not having no knowledge in this thing. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do one-on-one sessions no more, guys. And so I stopped doing that, right? And then I had CodingPhase.com, which I was planning to have it just like a social network. The same thing with Hashnode. I think Hashnode is the name of the community. I wanted to create what Hashnode is today before Hashnode even showed up. Okay, and that was the whole point of CodingPhase.com. At the end of the day, people wanted me to teach them, and I'm like, all right, cool. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of courses, teach you guys the basics, and then from there, you guys, if you want to support it, you can support it, right? My first monthly subscription was like for $5. I didn't even know if anybody was going to sign up or anybody was interested. You get what I'm saying? So then from there, fast forward, I was like, okay, a lot of people want me to continue creating courses and creating more things to the subscription. And I'm like, there's no way I could do it at $5, right? Because then when you do the math and I'm putting in, 8 hours a day and then doing YouTube videos, which adds another 2-3 hours a day. So I'm doing like 12 hours a day. And I do the math of like how many people have signed up. I'm like, bro, I'm earning like $2.77 per hour. I'm like, you know what? This doesn't make sense. So then I say, you know what? Let's just go in and create everything that somebody needs to learn how to code and then get a job. So we built that. We put it out there. I continue having it at a very cheap price just to build up the results, because you can't really sell something at a premium if there's no results and there's nobody else that has gotten any results out of it. So I said, you know what? Let's continue keeping it very cheap until we start getting results. And then we started seeing a lot of results. People came in, they learned what they needed to learn. 2-3 months later, they got jobs, right? Once we did that, we increased the price to $20. And $20, I believe, is the sweet spot where pretty much, anybody could sign up for that. Okay. Of course, we always do like sales where maybe we'll do a 30% off, 40% off, 50% off, depending on the holiday. But, it has been pretty successful. I mean, last year alone, we generate, I think it's like over 200,000 just from CodingPhase.com alone. And every year we've been growing. I mean, the first year, I think I made, what was it, like $20,000 in the first 6 months. Then the next year, I think it was like $80,000. This year is $200,000. The previous year, 2019. For this year, 2020, I think we're going to double up and probably touch $500,000 with CodingPhase.com as more people get results and people enjoy the content, right? There's a lot of platforms out there that you can learn how to code. But what's cool about CodingPhase.com is that I teach in a way where things stick, right? People go in, they learn. I speak in a very simple terms. I'm not trying to throw big words for people to be like, well, he's smart. Like, nah, I don't care about that. What I care about is, can I get my mom to learn how to code, right? That's my motto when it comes to CodingPhase.com. Can I get my mom to learn how to code? Somebody who barely knows how to use a computer. Can I get her to learn how to code? And if I'm able to get, quote unquote, my mom to learn how to code, then yeah, my job is done. Okay, so yeah, everything's been going good. I do niche websites, which also helped me out in the early years of CodingPhase.com, where we wasn't making no income. I mean, because $20,000 is no income, guys. You know what I mean? Like that's like extra income, but it's not for you to take care of your family, take care of your household and everything that you got to do. But with niche websites, I was able to generate income. Like before I even quit my job and before I even started doing CodingPhase.com, I was already generating like $10,000 to $18,000 a month from niche websites and affiliate marketing. So that's the thing, when you're a developer, you got the skills to create these websites. Now it's all about how can you make those skills that you have work for you? Because you could go and work for somebody else, but the same thing that you're doing for somebody else, you can do for yourself. But yeah, so that's where I got that entrepreneurial bug and how everything started.
Cool. I know I probably talked to you about this already, but like, do you ever regret like starting so cheap at $5? Because I know I started following you and doing the CodingPhase.com thing at $5, but like, would you ever like at the start just go with $20 or $15 instead of $5?
The one thing that I don't regret doing the $5 subscriptions in the beginning. I mean, it wasn't that many people. It was a lot of people who signed up. Until this day, it's funny. We were like almost 3 years in. Until this day, people still have their $5 specials. But to be honest with you, I don't mind because we did it for a reason, to get the results and get people to be able to say, hey, man, I learned here, right? So it's like you got to pay the price. It is what it is. But one thing that I do regret is doing subscriptions. Like I was calculating the amount of completed courses and the amount of people that have signed up to CodingPhase.com. If I would have went in and I did CodingPhase.com and basically sold every single course at, let's say, $10 or $15, let's say $10, I could have probably made about $1.8 million by now, because the amount of people that have signed up to CodingPhase.com and have taken courses. So it's a big difference to say, hey, in 3 years, CodingPhase.com generated $300,000. And then to say, hey, CodingPhase.com made $1.8 million, right? Just by selling the courses. So the only thing I regret was doing subscriptions, right? But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I didn't start here to become a millionaire from selling courses. This thing just fell on my lap because people wanted me to teach them, right? So at the end of the day, all I care about is how can I make an impact and how can I get as many people as possible into the game. You get what I'm saying? So we can make a difference. Just like we was talking about this in the beginning. How can we get more people, African Americans, Latinos, women, get into this game? Well, it's by doing things like this, trying to make an impact and try to make things as affordable as possible so people don't have an excuse to say, oh, I can't afford this. $20 everybody can afford.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny that you said that, because I was just about to say that. Like I feel like you're changing lives. Like I know a lot of people have stories about them seeing your content or using your platform to get these jobs and stuff. Like, and these are not like small jobs either. These are like big boy jobs, like, NASA. You probably can name some other big companies that I know of. And it's just crazy that what you've done. And I feel like you're one of those people that, like, I see what you've done, but some people from the outside wouldn't know like how many people you've helped along the way.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. There's a lot of people that we definitely helped out over the years, over the years of going to YouTube and doing CodingPhase.com and being able to help people and getting them into jobs. Like, it's great when people send me a picture of their first car. They're like, hey man, I was living with my mom's and look, I got my first car. I had a kid that sent me a picture of his first BMW. He's like, yo, this is my first car. I'm like, I can't believe I got this. And, 6 months ago, I was just learning at CodingPhase.com and, then I got a job and look where I'm at. Things like that. There's like David Rice just sent me the other day a picture through Twitter where David Rice is a student, but he's like, hey, man, I'm in vacation thanks to you, Joe. Like, look, we out here in Vegas. I'm bringing my family here and, we're enjoying ourselves. I'm able to earn a better, better salary, and be able to learn all those things, because like I said, everybody could learn in different platforms, right? But one thing that people really enjoy about CodingPhase.com is that we teach them with real projects, and at the same time, it's stuff that they can do, and they're basically going to do the same thing at real jobs. So it's not like we sit down and be like, hey guys, let's build a calculator. And it's like, Are you going to be doing a JavaScript calculator at your job? You're not, right? So we're building things that you're going to be doing on the job. So when you hit the ground, you could hit the ground running. So people love it.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And I feel like maybe in the next 10 years, because I know we just, rung in a whole new decade. I feel like CodingPhase, like it go to a whole nother level. Like what is like your goal, like with it, like going forward this next decade?
To be honest with you, I want to grow. I want to definitely grow, have more traffic coming into codingphase.com. I want codingphase.com to be pretty much like what, let's say, W3 Schools is to everybody, right? I want to have all those tutorials. I want to have all the documentation, everything that has to do with the web. I want it to be on codingphase.com. And then on top of that, the more people that we have on codingphase.com, the cheaper and more affordable that it can be for everybody. And that's like my goal, right? Like my goal is like, I always look at guys like, Traversing Media, where Traversing Media has, let's say, 900,000, almost a million subscribers on his YouTube channel, right? And I'm like, man, if I ever get to that point, man, I'm basically going to be doing like codingphase.com, like almost like $1 monthly subscription, right? Because the goal is not to make as much money as possible, but to have everybody on codingphase.com. Like I'd rather have straight up, like if I could get 1 billion people and for paying 10 cents a month, I would do it. Right? I would definitely do it. It's all about the numbers game. I want every single person that wants to learn how to code to go to codingphase.com. And the more people that I have in the system and I have on the website, the more affordable that I get to make the courses. And I just want to be the go-to place for anybody that wants to learn how to code.
Yeah, and I think a good idea, and I know our other part of this was the mentorship program. I think if you could somehow like have it where maybe you're not doing it, but you like use the platform to kind of like have other people like maybe be judges and stuff and like able to give out prizes and stuff to people that are actually working hard. I think that'd be dope. I think that's a good idea because I feel like each time you've done it, I feel like it's been better and better. But the people that you've had, a lot of them, they just don't have that drive and that fire to kind of keep going.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's definitely the thing where it's like, you start thinking about it. You're like, man, sometimes you want to help people out, but they don't help themselves. Right? Everybody finds an excuse, right? We had people on the last time that I did the mentorship program, which you also was part of one season. The last one that we did was just like, it was like big letdown because I chose people, right? I chose two people that I was like, man, these people, they're going to make it. They're going to be going the long way. But then I said, you know what? I'm going to feel bad if people from the community wanted somebody else. So then I let the community choose who gets to be part of the mentorship program. And they chose wrong. And then it's funny because like a guy like DJ Norris, who was part of the mentorship program, and he was the one that I chose, he got a job in 2 months. Like I knew from the beginning, I was like, yo, this guy is against the wall because this is how you're able to get into the game right away. You got to be against the wall. You really want to get this, right? If you just taking this as a hobby, you're just going to take it as a hobby. You're not going to do the things that you need to do. Right. And I saw somebody like DJ Norris. I was like, man, this guy, I know he was against the wall. He's like cleaning boilers. He just came from the army. He's planning on getting married someday. So he's like, yo, I want to get into this game. So if I'm going to do this, I'm going to take it seriously. So I knew from the beginning, I was like, man, this is the guy. But the community chose the wrong way, chose 2 other people that I knew from the beginning. I'm like, these people are not taking it serious because every single week they will come in and not do anything. It'll be the project look exactly the same way how it used to look the week before. And I'm like, you guys are not studying. You guys are not really working hard. You're not doing 3 hours minimum per day. You're taking the weekends off, right? And at the end of the day, I was like, man, it was such a letdown that I haven't even done a mentorship program in so long because of it. Because I'm like, it was just a waste of time. But if people really want it, they can get it.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like if you just vetted the people beforehand, I think it could be good. Like you have to actually have like done the coursework, like do some pre-course work or something like that. So they have to at least do some type of project before they even get let in the program. I think that would be a good way because then oh, they're serious. Because like I think that's the thing that I like about Lambda. I know you're not big on boot camps and stuff, but
Mhm.
like I like that you have to actually do some type of work to get in. So like most of the people, they're gonna take it serious because you
I
spend
think
all that
that's the
money.
Yeah, I think that's the best part of all boot camps. That at the end of the day, they are vetting people. It's not like, hey man, we're letting everybody in. It's like you gotta actually want to code. Or you actually want to put in the work. If you don't put in the work, or you haven't put the work before, then you're not gonna get in. Like I think that's the best part of it, because at least it basically cleans out the bad apples. That you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, obviously you're still gonna have people that that do that and they still like they quit, but you have a less likely of that happening. So I think that probably the best way to do it. But I think a good thing that I like that you're doing is that you're always giving back to the community. Even people in Lambda, like they always talk about you. They're like, "Hey, man, he's the truth." CodingPhase, like all that stuff. So I think even though like some people, if they didn't know who you are, they'd be like, "Man, you hate Lambda." But I don't think that's at all. Just you didn't come from that background, so you wouldn't be like supportive on that. It's like if I went to college and you didn't go to college. Like obviously, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, you should get a computer science degree. But if you didn't go to college, you're not gonna be like, oh man, that's a waste of money. It's kind of like that type of scenario. I think.
Yeah. I think that you got it right. My whole thing about boot camps is really because this is another part of my story that I guess we haven't really gone into it. When I was like around 19, I went to an institute, which is pretty much the same model of boot camps, where you go in for 9 months, right? You learn how to become an audio engineer, and pretty much you pay about $14,000. So, I mean, back then that's what it was. And after you graduate, supposedly you get a job, right? I went in there and I realized that I knew more than what they were teaching. And even when I was asking guys that were about to graduate, I was like, wait, you guys just learning this? Is like, I already know all of this stuff. So for me, I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. And I left that institute. At the end of the day, I still had to pay like $4,000 for like 3 weeks that I was there. They made me, they charged me $4,000 for me just going in there. But to me, I'm like, I see boot camps the same way as I saw that institute, because it's literally the same model. The people that used to own that institute is called Institute of Audio Research. They sold it and they closed down the institute. And then now what they do is they do boot camps. So it's the exact same people that is funding all of these different platforms. It's like the same guy. I'm pretty sure the guy who created Lambda, he comes from another boot camp. So it's like they're all from the same thing of like, hey, let's make as much profit as possible. Like, as you guys could see, anybody that really knows me, you could see like, instead of me going up, scaling up, I'm scaling down. I don't go in and say, hey, let's try to make as much money as possible from everybody. I say, how can we make the least amount of money from everybody and still keep the lights on? A business, right? When people come in and take education as a business, privately owned, their whole goal is to make as much money as possible. And I feel like, I'm not talking about Lambda in general, but overall, is like the model is how much money can we get out of this? And I feel like a lot of the things that people are learning on boot camps now, it was cool in 2008. Because like I said, I've been interested in learning how to code since back then. It was interesting back then. You could learn Ruby on Rails. You could get a job in San Francisco right away because Ruby on Rails was hot, right? You pay $10,000, $20,000, whatever it could be for the boot camp, and then you get a job. It made sense back then. In 2020, to me, it just doesn't make sense when I'm like, yo, literally everything that you're going to learn in all of this boot camps is already out here for a fraction of the price. I think people are paying for boot camps to hold them accountable, to actually do their work. 2, to basically come in and give them a validation that they feel they are missing. Okay, because when you're a self-taught developer and you're learning at home, imposter syndrome is real. You're like, man, I don't know if I'm as good as other developers. Damn, I don't have a degree. Damn, I don't have a certificate. Damn, I don't have this, and that. And that's where boot camps know that's what you want, and they're going to give it to you, but it's going to come with a premium because the education and the things that you're going to learn, it's already here. You're not paying for the education. You're paying for that validation of, hey, I went to this boot camp. Hey, I got a certificate. Hey, they told me I'm good enough. Well, that's what most people, from what I see, that people are paying for. It's not really the education, because the education, it's already here. From Udemy to Team Treehouse to CodingPhase.com to Pluralsight, everything that we're teaching, it's already here. So that's where it's like, I don't hate boot camps or Lambda or anything. I just think like, since it is a business, the business is to make as much money as possible. You get what I'm saying? And that's where I'm like, okay, if a boot camp was, let's say, for example, $800 a month, then maybe I will say, you know what, that's not bad. But when people come in and be like, you know what, let's try to get like, there's one here in Connecticut, which can go up to $50,000, which is crazy. For that, just go to college. You get what I'm saying? So that's where, for me, that's where I'm like, okay, the problem is not the boot camps. The problem is the model of like, hey, how can we make as much money as possible? And it's like, but, that's my opinion. And just like you said, too, also, I don't come from that world of like, hey, I'm going to go in and spend this amount of money on education when I didn't spend that much. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can I tell people, hey, go spend this much on this when I didn't spend that much? I saw this, I'm not going to name the YouTuber, but this YouTuber was promoting Deaf Mountain for 2 years. And then now that Deaf Mountain is not paying their bills and paying them as a sponsorship and this and that, now the individual is like, he's saying, oh, yeah, I don't believe in boot camps. I don't think that boot camps are the options and this and that. But then it's like, okay, cool. But why was you putting people into boot camps into a $20,000 debt if you didn't believe in it? Why? Because you was getting paid. So as long as everybody gets paid, everybody's happy. So you get what I'm saying? So that's where, I'm going to stop right here, but that's where it goes down. You know what I mean? Everybody gets a bag, even the guys that's promoting Lambda. I know you're not promoting Lambda. You telling your experience and you telling this stuff, but you get what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people that promote Lambda, and people forget that every link that they go in and they click on that, they're getting paid. Anything from $250 to $500 per person that signs up. If I go in and I say, you know what, I'm going to sign, let's say, for example, an average, $450 times 1,000, how much is that? That's $450,000 that person makes.
Yeah.
So it's a business, right? So that's where it's like, for me, it's like, boot camps is not really the education that is the problem. To me, it's the model of like, hey, let's get everybody's bread. Let's try to get them into something so they could pay. But that's it. That's my opinion. That's it. Don't hate me. That's the only thing that I say, guys. Besides that, whatever gets you into the business, whatever gets you into the game, if you think that's worth it for you, go ahead. I have no problem with it. I don't hate nobody. Okay, peace. Throwing the white flag.
Yeah. I think the thing that you brought up the most that I kind of like, I get irritated too is like people that like support things that they're not like, I guess they don't believe in 100%. And I feel like that's a big problem all the way. But I think a bigger thing is like right now, tech is like the wild, wild west. Like, it's like, I don't know if you watched Willy Wonka, like the golden ticket. I feel like each time you get a new skill, it's like getting a golden ticket. So, people will see that, they get this little skill and they can make a lot of money. And like these different platforms out there, whether it's a boot camp, whether it's, CodingPhase.com, whatever, they try to take advantage of that because right now it's a lot of money into it. But there's going to be a certain point where there's not going to be any money, to be made. Like it's just going to be like, there's going to be a point where there's less jobs and the people that can actually fill them. But now, it's the opposite.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think right now we're in a golden age where there is a lot of jobs, right? Let's say 5-10 years from now, there could be a lot of jobs too, but maybe not as much as now where it's so easy for somebody to get into the game. In the future, most likely what's going to happen is that people are going to ping pong developers, meaning like, hey, one developer left the company, and because he has experience, he's getting picked up by another company. But what happens to the people that's at the bottom that don't have no experience? That's like, hey, I'm learning at home, or hey, I just went to a boot camp. Sorry, buddy. Every job that's out here is being filled by people that have been working in the industry. And that happens a lot too. There's a lot of, that's like construction, right? So let's say those guys that work for the cities and they work for a union and things like that. Like, if you try to go into, like, let's say New York City, and you want to work on a skyscraper, one of the big ass buildings, right? If you want to work in one of those, like, you can't just show up and be like, hey guys, I want to work here. It's like, nah, this thing is being passed down from father to son to grandchild. Like, they keep it in the family. And it's like, I feel like that's what's going to happen within the tech industry in the future, where it's like, if you're from the outside and you have no experience, it's going to be more difficult than what it is now. So that's why I tell people, get in now and get your 2-3 years of experience, because you don't know how it's going to be in a few more years.
Word. So yeah, it's been real cool talking to you, Joe. And like, you definitely gave a lot of gems, and hopefully all the people that are listening, whether you listen in your car, at home, at your job, I don't care where you're listening to, hopefully y'all, support the dude. Can you give your socials and all the platforms you got for people that are listening?
Yeah. Hit me up on Twitter at CodingPhase. Hit me up on Instagram at CodingPhase. Hit me up on YouTube at CodingPhase. Everywhere, every single platform that is popping, just search CodingPhase and you're going to find me. But yeah, just hit me up. I'm super open to talk to people and help people as much as possible. As you guys can see, we got CodingPhase.com, where we teach you everything that you need to learn how to code. And the goal at CodingPhase.com is literally to get you into a job, right? I always tell people this: my job is not to make you Mark Zuckerberg. My job is to teach you the skills to get into a job. If you want to become Mark Zuckerberg, you have to go and do that yourself. Nobody can make you rich. Nobody can make you a millionaire. Nobody can make you a super senior developer. Like, that's something that you have to take on your own. Doesn't matter if it's on my platform. Doesn't matter what other platform, school, bootcamp. It doesn't matter where you go. You got to know that you are getting basically the skills that you need to get the job. But for you to grow, you got to continue learning. You got to continue going on a steady pace, going to the top and learning as many skills as possible. The difference between a developer and a doctor is that a doctor could go in, does his 10 years or tenure, whatever it is, or, they go to the local hospitals, they work there for a few years, right? But a developer has to go in and learn every single year. Every single year, we continue to learn and continue to sharpen up our skills. And if you don't do that, then you fall off the industry, okay? The more skills that you have, the more time that you put in, the more money that you're going to make, and the more successful that you're going to be. A doctor just has to get degrees and then once in a while go to a conference to see what new medical equipment they could use. That's it. So, but always remember that you got to stay on top of this. This is not something that you could do as a hobby, and this is not something that you can just do once in a while and say, hey, I got a job and I'm not doing anything else for the next 3 years. And the day you get fired, you get let go, then you're going to be like, holy shit, I can't find a job because you didn't keep up with what's going on in the industry. So that's my advice for people.
Again, thank you, Joe, for getting on. And also all the people that are listening, we're going to be back next week, hopefully, for another episode of the Between Two Divs podcast. Until then, peace.